Hey everybody, Nick here from 4playernetwork.com. It's May, E3 is next month, and these are my top 5 most anticipated games that may or may not be at the show. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to be a little bit vague with this one. All I can tell you is that we seem to be just about due for a new game from Sucker Punch, the developers of Sly Cooper and Infamous. What that game actually is, I really couldn't tell you. Rumor has it lately that some kind of agreement has formed between Sony and Activision, which could land Spider-Man in the laps of Sucker Punch. Activision does seem to be scaling back their emphasis on licensed games as of late, and we've all seen what can happen when a proven developer is handed a beloved superhero IP. While Sucker Punch would certainly be a perfect fit for Spider-Man, given their history with superhero games and their knack for nailing awesome traversal mechanics, I still think this is a bit of a stretch. I would absolutely love for this to happen, as I think Spider-Man deserves a AAA game of his own, especially following his universally acclaimed debut in Captain America Civil War. With that said, it's probably far more likely that we'll get a new IP. Given their history with new IP, I find this to be a welcome alternative to the Spider-Man route as well. Honestly, if this is the case, I would love to see them tackle a genre outside of their comfort zone, maybe a horror game or an action RPG. Whatever the case may be, I think it is time we see what they've been up to. If this comes to pass, I'm really hoping we see something surprising from them at the Sony press conference. Alright, next up is Horizon Zero Dawn, that PS4 exclusive title from Guerrilla Games that was announced at E3 last year. You know, the one that looks a little bit like Far Cry Primal, but with actual dinosaurs that are actually robots. Anyways, yeah, that's the one. It looks amazing. Rumor has it that we'll see it on shelves before the end of the year, so E3 seems like the obvious choice for giving the media its first hands-on time with the game before its launch. What we already know about the game has me incredibly excited. It's open world and sports a number of traits common in action RPGs and survival games. I'm really hoping to walk away from the show this year with a good idea of exactly what kind of open world this is. In this day and age, open world could really mean any number of things. I'm hoping it's a little more Far Cry and a little less Dragon Age Inquisition, if you know what I mean. What I've seen so far of the combat does look super exciting. This idea of playing as a member of a tribe of humans living thousands of years after the fall of man seems to have given the combat a little bit of a hunting edge to it. The weapons we've seen so far include lots of awesome traps and are used in conjunction with a bow and arrow. And having just finished Uncharted 4 and been completely, utterly blown away by what the PS4 hardware is actually capable of, I'm really eager to see if Guerrilla has the same level of ambition as Naughty Dog when it comes to their original IP. If the answers to all these questions are what I have hoped they might be, Horizon has the potential to be one of the best new IPs of the generation. None of my hopes seem like that much of a stretch either, based on what we've seen. The environment certainly looked large, and the way the player took down that giant robot was beyond epic. I just hope they can deliver a memorable story on top of everything. It may not be the biggest fan of Killzone, but from what I hear, the lore they built for that universe was actually pretty good. So here's to hoping E3 reaffirms my optimism. So last year I mentioned that I was really hyped to see the Star Wars game that Amy Hennig was working on with Visceral Games, and honestly, that still holds true. But EA has stated that game won't be out until 2018 at the earliest, so I think our chances of actually seeing an unveiling this year might be slim. With that said, Visceral Games is actually a pretty big studio now, and is likely a multi-project studio. And with part of their team working tirelessly on a new Star Wars game, it seems like it might be time for Dead Space to finally make its current-gen debut. I love Dead Space. It was easily one of my favorite original IPs of last generation, and it seems odd to me that it has not showed itself on the new tech yet. It would also explain why the Star Wars game is so far off, if the majority of their team was actually focusing on making a new Dead Space game. A big established IP like this would be just what they need to help fund the Star Wars project, which I'm sure is ambitious in its own right. The possibilities for Dead Space as a franchise seem endless. A new character, a new setting, and even a new alien species would not be outside the realm of possibility. All I know is that I want to see this beautiful and disturbing universe fully realized and powered by the PS4 and Xbox One. And of course, I want to dismember some motherfuckers strategically. Say what you will about the quality of Dead Space 3, I thought it was fine, but Dead Space 2 was a near perfect blend of horror and action. It was also a beautiful game that just needs to be revisited. This may not happen, but to me, it makes sense, and E3 seems like the right place to make an announcement. Of course, only time will tell, so we'll have to wait and see next month. Resident Evil, a series that I have given up on entirely over the last few years. I've been pretty vocal about my distaste for the direction the series has gone. While 4 was a nearly perfect game, it set a dangerous precedent for the series, and instead of serving as a nice one-off, it set the tone and direction for the entire series in a dangerous way. Rumors are pretty strong right now that we'll get our first look at Resident Evil 7 at E3, and on top of that, Capcom is apparently taking the series back to its horror roots. While part of me wants to believe this, I find it highly unlikely that they would just fully abandon the action stylings of its predecessors. But if Resident Evil 7 debuts and it is a reboot of the series with an emphasis on atmospheric horror and puzzle solving, this game has the potential to be one of my most anticipated games ever. With that said, the perfect Resident Evil 7 announcement would not even really be for Resident Evil 7 at all. It would simply be Resident Evil, or something along those lines. An actual, by-the-book reboot. Forget Umbrella, forget the Redfields, for the love of God, forget Wesker. I want to see them start from scratch. Build a new mythos, give us a new setting, a new character, a new threat. Fucking define horror again. The only thing that gives me hope that this might actually come to pass, or that they're taking it seriously, is that Capcom has apparently hired Jordan Amaro, a designer who worked on PT. Either way, it looks like we'll be seeing something at the big show next month. This may be my second most anticipated game of the show, but it's also the one with the greatest potential to disappoint, and that in and of itself is super exciting. Alright, we've arrived at my number one most anticipated game of E3 2016, and of course, what else could it be? Last month, a world map for Red Dead Redemption 2 leaked online, so of course, everyone is anticipating an official announcement this year. Red Dead Redemption is easily one of my favorite games ever made. It took a genre, a setting, that is tragically underutilized in this industry and made it damn near perfect. It's easily one of the most immersive and beautiful open worlds I've ever explored, and on top of that, it told one of my favorite stories of last generation, with one of the best endings I've ever seen in a game. On top of that, we all know what it means when Rockstar iterates on their established franchises. I mean, Grand Theft Auto keeps getting bigger and better with every entry, so it only makes sense that Red Dead would follow that same trajectory. Now, as for my own personal hopes for the game, I really couldn't tell you. Rockstar, like Naughty Dog, is a team that I trust unconditionally. As long as the world is vast, beautiful, and fun to explore, I'm totally on board. If I had to pick one thing to hope for, it may be that maybe don't involve the Marstons in any real way. Red Dead Redemption was such a complete story that I don't feel the need to see that narrative messed with in any real way. I'm hoping for a new character with his own motivations and story. Now, with that said, the world map that we saw seems to imply close proximity to the world map of Red Dead Redemption, which might suggest closer ties that I'm hoping for. Either way, it's sure to be awe-inspiring, it's going to be awesome, there's no doubt about that in my mind. Just like every other Rockstar project, and I absolutely can't wait to see what they have in store. Alright, there you have it, my most anticipated or desired games of E3 2016. It was certainly hard to pick just 5 because it looks like it's going to be a great show this year. We'll all be in LA from June 11th to 17th to see and play all the new shit, so we hope you'll join us at 4playernetwork.com for all the festivities. See you then.